Hey everyone, thanks for hopping on. This is Anthony Mendez with the City of Charlotte. We'll get started here in just a few minutes.
Good morning.
Hey everyone, again, this is Anthony Mendez with the City of Charlotte. I appreciate everyone for joining. We're still waiting on a couple more folks. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. All right, it looks like we have most of the participants that we had pre-registered. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Before I run through, get too far along, always the daunted question from virtual presenting is everyone able to see a PowerPoint presentation? Can you use my screen? Can you see a PowerPoint? Perfect. Thank you. So again, my name is Anthony Mendez. I am the Emerging Executive Fellow at the City of Charlotte, and I have the privilege of working on the Corridors of Opportunity team is one of my responsibilities. And I am here today to talk to everyone about the opportunity, which is from the Corridors of Opportunity, the S3 grant, or the Start, Scale, and Sustain grant. The grant itself is intended to help business district organizations build capacity within their boundaries. And so also on this call, we have Arta Osmani, who is a senior specialist within the Economic Development Department. And not present on the call, but a pertinent part of our overall team is Aaron Gillespie, the Corridors of Opportunity Interim Executive Manager. And so we are the Charlotte City staff who are engaged with being able to initiate and kind of administer this grant program. And so with that, I am going to advance to the next slide. Perfect. And then, so just a very quick outlook or overview of what we're going to run through today. We'll talk about the objectives, the idea of the program. We'll give an overview of the grant. We'll provide details on the application. We'll talk about the utilization of pre-approved vendors. We'll run through a grant timeline. And then at the end, we'll go through frequently asked questions. This is a accumulation of questions that we have already received, but I will also say that if you have additional questions, either as we are going through this or already, feel free to put them in the chat. We will work on addressing them throughout this conversation, and know that if a question is not answered here live, we are capturing them, and we will be sure to update the FAQ that is posted online to address any questions talked about today and any future questions that folks may have. And so to that, today's objectives, we want to provide an overview of the program, outline what the eligibility requirements are for the organizations that want to apply or wish to apply, and then also provide an outline of what the eligible services are. We have based on some of the work we've done with business districts to date, we've kind of created a template to be able to help provide services that are in line with the vision of this grant program. So we'll run through what those are, and we'll talk about the application itself, which is live today. And we'll provide ways to make sure that folks have access to be able to get there, but then also discuss about what is included in the application and share some of the intentions as to why it is in there. And then finally, we will run through some of the questions from folks. And so just a little bit of background on where this program is coming from. Hopefully, if you're not already familiar with the Corridors of Opportunity within the city of Charlotte, it is just a little bit of background on what that program overall entails. Is the city of Charlotte's Corridor of Opportunity program. We work with 6 key corridors across the city of Charlotte, and you can see on the map to the right, the 6 corridors themselves. We have West Boulevard, we have Wilkinson and Freedom, we have Beatty's Ford and Rossell's Ferry. Then there's North Graham, North Tryon, which can be seen in red. And then in orange, we have the Sugar Creek corridor. And then last but certainly not least, the Central Albemarle corridor shown in yellow. And the program itself is intended to foster thriving communities for residents and businesses within the geographical footprints that you see, and ultimately to be able doing these things with the intention of building lasting legacy for these communities and being able to grow the communities in an equitable manner. And so with those intentions, what we have done is we have created a program to help support business district organizations within the Corridors of Opportunity, and recognizing that various BDOs across these geographies are in different places. What we have done is tried to create a program that is flexible in nature, that can provide funding tailored to fit the technical assistance needs of each of these various organizations. And I think it's important to note that this funding was set aside by City Council. It's $1 million worth of federal funding from the American Rescue Act plan, so ARPA dollars. And with ARPA dollars, it's important to note, and we'll discuss this at length through this presentation, but there is a specific timeline, the federal timeline associated with the use of ARPA dollars. But in this money is intended to help support capacity building of established and emerging organizations. This will enable these organizations to grow and more effectively support the needs of their commercial district. And that's what led us to the overall acronym that we're utilizing for the grant itself. We want to be able to help these organizations either start new programs, then be able to scale them and sustain them with long after these funds are utilized. And so along with the acronym, it is intended, and this program is designed to have a progressional approach so that we are looking to establish a collective vision within your district, and then being able to grow the impact of the businesses within and the other stakeholders within your footprint. And then again, tying to the overall mission of what Corridors of Opportunity is all about, is we want to create a vibrant, healthy place and an active opportunity for individuals and people to do business within your geographies. And so that's where we get the inspiration of start, scale, and sustain. So with understanding and unpacking kind of the vision behind what the program is, we want to walk through some of the terms that we're utilizing within our initiation of this application. So we'll start with, what is a business district? And so a business district itself is a concentration of businesses within a generally walkable footprint. Within that area, it has amenities that also serve the economic vitality of the area. So we're looking for places that ultimately create an ecosystem for business. And it is expected that these districts themselves would contain 10 or more businesses. So then, building on that, what is a business district organization? Business district organization is a nonprofit entity that is intended to service a targeted commercial area, which meets the definition that was previously described. And their primary goal, among others, but their primary objective is to help promote the economic vitality of the overall area. And these are high-level definitions. There are both in the FAQ that's posted and within the grant outlines. We do go into more detail on some of these terms. So those are also great resources to be able to utilize if there's to be able to kind of understand and unpack these a little further. And so that's discussing what a business district organization is. What are some of the minimum requirements that we are looking for organizations to be able to apply for this grant? So we, as stated, looking for a nonprofit organizations with existing or pending 501c3s or 501c6 designations. And then they serve a business district community within the corridors of opportunity. And so one of the elements of the application is submitting a map or a overall boundaries to your district. And so ensuring that a large portion of your business district falls within the corridors of opportunity influence areas would be a requirement to be able to participate within this program. And then again, must represent at least 10 businesses within the district that they serve. And I think it's also important to note that we're understanding that some of your organizations are at very different places. Maybe you're looking to just start your business district association, and you may not have 10 businesses that are committed to your programming into your overall goals. But however, that you would need to show us that the district that you intend to serve would encompass at least 10 10 businesses. And then finally, the last one is to being set up to receive federal dollars. And this is largely in part due to the fact that this funding source is coming from ARPA dollars. And so that is entailed of organizations will have to either themselves or have a relationship with a primary organization that has a SAM identification number. And that's merely just to be able to, for reporting purposes, as we, the city, look to or would be engaging the federal government on how these dollars are being utilized overall. And so then as we've stated, we've kind of set up within this program, and hopefully as you've been looking through the application, that there are specific areas of focus that we have kind of pre-selected to be able to be in line with this program. And so it is intended to be able to help. We've selected services that we, in our experience, have been the most beneficial to building capacity within the organizations that we've worked with. And so overall, we want to be able to we've created a program to be able to scale these efforts and do it in a collective way to be able to impact multiple organizations within the corridors of opportunity. And so we're looking to provide services that are aligned with strategic work that help to create an inventory of the businesses and the built environment within the footprint, looking to provide services for marketing and communication, technical skills, consulting services, and programming. And I think it's important to note at the bottom, strategic planning efforts would be intended to be completed within the first 6 months of the contract. And the reason for that is that the activities that then end up in the development category, we want to make sure that they are aligning with an overall plan and the progressive nature of which this program is set up in. And so we want to be able to, again, finding the starting place for each organization, getting to start to scale it, and then being able to sustain something. So there's a progressive nature, and so those activities would be completed within the first 6 months to help create a foundation for the remaining 18 months of the contract. And additionally, for programming eligibility, those requirements will be specifically tailored to the number of salary employees that each organization has. So there's a very clear line as to how to unlock or to be eligible for those dollars. So those are the items that are on the capacity building components, but then we also are looking to provide activities or services that create and foster development within your communities. And so being able to provide some services for permitting and licensing, compliance, e-commerce and digital literacy, financial services, and accounting. And again, I will reiterate that these terms are further unpacked within the grant outline. And so certainly encourage, if you haven't done so already, to be able to, as you're looking through the application, to make sure that you're reading those terms and to help you understand the specific nature of how we're wanting to define those services. So only have a few more slides here. And so what is in the application overall? The questions themselves are tailored to be able to help us understand your organizational status. Again, we recognize that BDOs across the city are at different places, and we want to be able to meet the needs depending on where your organization is. We want to be able to understand the structure of your organization, both from an organizational standpoint, but then also from your physical footprint. And then what are the things that you're already doing, activities or engagement? What are the things that you're wanting to be able to do that may align with activities or engagement? And then looking at the overall area that you serve, and then finally a needs assessment. And that's really what will link to the services that each organization will be eligible for. And so with the needs assessment, we have built into the application itself, we have a workbook. So you won't see the table that I have on the right directly on the application site, but you will see built into the application all of these components. So I think we've gotten some questions for folks wanting to know where the workbook sheet is. And so that because we were able to build it into the application, they don't actually have an overall Excel sheet. So if you're just filling out the application, that will be perfect. And so these needs assessments themselves are intended to provide input into the services that you select. And we're looking for organizations to what are the services that best fit your organization's needs, and how do they support the needs of your overall business. And so going through each of these will lead us to how the funding for the organizations are set up. And it is our goal and intention to be able to distribute these funds as across the footprint of the corridors of opportunity. And so being able to see the priority needs of each of the organizations that are submitting are going to be directly linked to how the funds are ultimately distributed. And then something that we're also doing in order to ensure that we are able to efficiently get these allocated funds into contracting is the city has a separate RFQ out for pre-selected vendors to be able to be online and ready to go for the organizations once they are in fact selected and approved. And so what we've done is for some of the activities that we know that we're requiring, and for some of the activities that we anticipate having multiple organizations requesting, we've tried to focus having vendors within the wing to be able to have we'd have a pre-designated price, we'd have a pre-designated scope, and being able to then use that to streamline getting into a contracting phase because of the fact that these dollars have to be encumbered within the specific federal timeline. And so some of these pre-selected services include the strategic work, the communication, and then some select items under the business development. And then again, the opportunity to be able to have these pre-selected vendors will just allow to help us scale these efforts and make sure that we're meeting the funding requirements. And so on that note, I want to provide an example of how we are envisioning the timeline and the overall function of this program. So what we've done here within this image is we've created it's a ghost organization that we're using as an example. So we're North Graham Business Partners Association here. So if they were an organization, what you can see is the timeline starting from left to right, showing the progressive nature of what the program is intended to entail. So this might be a new organization that they don't have a strategic plan developed. And so what we would be doing is developing a program or developing a strategic plan. It would be a one-time service, and they would use that strategic plan to help fuel and guide the decisions on the next activities. And so then continuing through the page, they would then, based on their strategic plan, develop a long-range budget, conduct an inventory of their footprint, and then develop a communication plan, again, that supports the strategic plan and the strategic goals that they've developed with. And then now that they've done some strategic work, they'll be able to unlock and move into some of the development phases of what the grant would be looking to provide. And then maybe the organizations themselves, they need some assistance with accounting services. And so being able to meet with the provider, whether on a monthly basis or on a determined basis throughout the course life cycle of the program, being able to help them ensure that they're utilizing not just the funding from the city, but other funds in a manner that will be able to be scalable and sustainable in the future. And then again, building on what would have been already established, looking at hosting opportunities. Maybe through the strategic planning, they realize that there's a need for legal aid within the businesses of their organization. And so then hosting hosting either a workshop or a webinar to be able to provide those services over a period of time their within their district could be a benefit to the businesses within their organization. And so you can kind of see this image does a great job of trying to help paint and illustrate the progressive nature of the program that will allow for just the intentions and show what the general timeline of the program is intended to capture. So then last but certainly not least, what we have is the overall grant timeline. So as mentioned, we do have an RFQ that is open and will be closing soon that would for our vendor pool, and those would be the pre-approved applicants that we're looking to help streamline some of the contracting services. And then we've already opened the BDO application, hence why you guys are here on this call. And as we're looking to, it is our goal to have these vendors selected before the end of the month so that we can utilize their services and then be able to pair them as we close the application within June, and then looking to turn around in the month of July and provide the organizations and announce who was selected for the program. And then the overall timeline, again, for federal dollars is that any of the organizations that are selected would need to be under contract by the end of this calendar year, which is in line with the federal timeline of the ARPA dollars. And then funds would need to be spent by the end of December 2026. And so again, needing any organizations that are selected would need to be under contract, funds encumbered by the end of this year, with the expectation that all funds that were allocated to the organization are spent by the end of December 2026. And so with that, I'm going to move to the question portion, the FAQ portion of this presentation, going through questions that we've already captured. But then again, if you have any questions additional to maybe something that you've seen or something that you read on something that you may have read on the application site, please feel free to put it in the chat and we will do our best to answer them live. And again, we will be updating the FAQ based on the content that is discussed here today. So what is a business district organization in the context of this grant? We've touched on that a little bit, but again, this unpacks the definition a little bit further. We're looking for a BDO that is known as a merchant or commercial business association. They are a nonprofit and they serve a targeted area. The functions may include economic development, marketing, promotion, beautification, safety, security, and other opportunities, which again, many of our selected services would support many of these initiations. Then what is defined as capacity building in the context of this grant? And so it is our goal to help provide services that will enhance an organization's ability to better serve its members and to more effectively achieve their overall goal. And so some of these are listed out below, and they again follow in line with the services that we are looking to provide: organizational development, strategic planning, leadership development, financial management, and marketing and engagement strategies. Then is the capacity building focus for the business district organization or for the businesses within the district as well? And I love this question because I think it really speaks to the heart and the intention of what this program is intended to be. And the answer is both. This grant is intended to focus first on building capacity for the business district organization. And again, that would lead into the progressive approach of the program. And then after the BDO themselves have gone through some services, it would then look to enable the organizations to provide and support services to the members or businesses within the district that they serve. And so again, this question really speaks to how the program is meant to have a progressive approach. And I think one thing that we haven't touched on, but I will add here, is that for some of the items listed, both the strategic planning and the inventory, those are items that we are requiring each organization to complete. If your organization has already completed those activities, we would ask that in your submittal, you would also add proof showing that those tasks had been done. And that would then just unlock other funding items sooner for your organization. And so continuing through, is the grant a reimbursement and how will the money be distributed? So this grant is intended, this will not be a reimbursement program, but it is our intention to distribute the funds over the 2-year grant period for 4 disbursements. And so we would be looking to initially separate it into 25% increments to be able to distribute them along the course of the program, obviously making sure, wanting to ensure that all of the funds are given to the organizations with the ability to spend them by the end of December. And again, this is meant to reinforce the progressive nature of the program itself. So how will amounts be determined? This is ultimately going to be highlighted by the needs that we see from the organizations, from each individual organizations, and then the collective nature of organizations that apply. Again, it is our goal to distribute these funds to as many organizations as we can, maximizing the investment to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the most primary needs of each of the organizations within the application pool. So how will applications chosen for review, how are applications chosen for review and considered? And the application, each organization that submits an application must meet the minimum requirements, which we're making sure that they are within a corridor of opportunity, making sure that they are set up to receive the federal funding, making sure that they support at least 10 business district organizations, and that they are a nonprofit. So those are the 4 minimum requirements. And so assuming all of the applicants meet those minimums, they would then be considered for further funding opportunities. And then if my organization does not have a SAM number, is not registered with a SAM number, can we still apply? And so the answer to this is yes. We want, if you do not have a SAM number, that is something that can generally be done in a 6-week window. However, it is important to make sure that your organization itself, or that you have a fiduciary representative that is a physical sponsor that already has a nonprofit designation, because that certificate does take up to 6 months to be able to receive, in order to ensure that we meet the federal guidelines or the federal timeline. We would not have enough time for an organization to start that process. However, we would have enough time for an organization to start the process for getting a SAM number. However, again, if you're able to pair yourself with a physical sponsor that already has both of those numbers associated, then you would be able to, it would just need to be listed and identified on your application. And then how many employees does our organization need to have in order to apply? And the answer is 0. However, based on the number of employees that you have, will unlock the opportunity to be eligible for specific funding amounts. So within the programming funds, if you have at least one full-time staff member, you could be eligible to apply for up to $75,000 of programming funds. If you do not have any eligible, or if you do not have any full-time staff member, then the ceiling for that category would only be $25,000, which is still a large amount of funds to be able to utilize over the course of the life cycle of the program. What are the city of Charlotte's reporting requirements? And really this again ties back to how the federal government is requiring we report to these funds. And so we would require each of the organizations that are selected to be able to report on a 6-month basis how the money is being spending, performance measures of how their spending is being tracked, and then being able to show how that is kind of in line with what the program was set up for. And all of these metrics would kind of be discussed and determined throughout the contracting phase. And so being able to just merely report on those, show the spending, and report on the metrics would be required on every 6 months. And then kind of touched on a little bit already, but what are the federal requirements? Again, it is ensuring that we have the SAM number provided, and then making sure that we're able to create and allow for the reporting to be done. And so making sure that you have a ULI number with the expiration date, as well as the certificate of insurance, all of that building towards having a active working sam.gov number. So which corridors, what are the corridors of opportunity of Charlotte? Again, this is 6 corridors across the city, and you can utilize the link in the application or even the map previously shown to kind of help provide some of that. Again, the corridors themselves are named due to the main thoroughfares within the corridors, but their influence area is a wider swath, and it is expected that at least that a large number of your organizations be within that influence area. So our business district needs infrastructure improvements. Can we include this work in our proposal? And this grant is not intended for infrastructure support, but ultimately to be able to help build organizational capacity for the business, for the district, and then being able to then turn that around and allow it to be utilized for business support for the businesses within the district. And then, can the BDO use the funds to assist businesses with city fees? And so this grant cannot be utilized to help pay for city fees. However, it could be utilized to provide technical assistance for businesses to be able to, as they work through city processes. And so again, it cannot be utilized directly to pay for city fees, but can be utilized to provide technical assistance to support organizations as they navigate various city processes. And then coming up to the final page, can our BDO assist businesses with bringing commercial properties up to code, facade painting activities, vacant lots, streetscape improvements? And again, this builds on the previous question. This funding source is not intended to provide funds for infrastructure, but meant to help build capacity. However, there are other grant opportunities within the city that can be leveraged to provide those things: business matching grant program, placemaking grant, and even neighborhood matching grant. And something that would be eligible for this program is if your organization wanted to host either a learning session or a webinar to allow for whether it be city staff or an outside consultant to come in and provide information on these programs to the businesses within your district to be able to help promote other city activities that are already going on that can be utilized to provide some of these funds. And then what is the term of the grant? Again, tied to the federal timeline. It is a 2-year term, and these funds must be expended by the end of December 2026. Can these funds be utilized for paid staff? This grant cannot be utilized for hired salary staff or pay salaries of current staff. However, it can be utilized to hire consultants, subcontractors, and interns whose work is intended to help grow capacity of the organization. And this is a common question that we get, and it's really, since this program is a one-time infusion fund for the organizations, we want to make sure that it's being leveraged for we want to make sure that it's a sustainable, we're creating sustainable systems within each of the organizations. And so paying for paid staff with the one-time source it doesn't lend to that sustainability. However, being able to utilize these funds to build that capacity to help with either business recruitment, to help with fundraising, and being able to then build upon those activities to help increase the funds either coming into the organization and then being able to utilize those items to help pay for the salary staff employees. And so if there's additional questions around that content, we're more than happy to we just discuss that as needed. Then what are eligibility requirements? We've kind of gone through that to a degree already. Again, having the 501c3 or the 501c6 designation for nonprofit, being in the corridors of opportunity geography, having the at least 10 business districts, and then being set up to receive federal funding. And then the last question that we have is eligible expenses. So this grant will cover activities that will target organizational capacity. And then there are, with the 2 categories, we have categories that focus on the building capacity and then categories that focus on programming. And again, the programming dollars are intended to be distributed based on the amount of paid staff that you have. And again, all of these activities are intended to help reinforce the economic vitality of the given district. And so if you're seeing there, we do have an opportunity within the application for an other. And so being able to provide information on if there are other needs, then submitting it within the application. And if we're able to tell a story or create a narrative that there are other needs that support the economic vitality of the district, those activities could also be eligible for funding within this program. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Arta, I'm going to pass to you. Do we have any new questions in the chat?
Yes, we already got 3 questions so far. So I'll start reading one by one. Are there any RFP opportunities associated with this grant or the ARPA funding?
So the RFP opportunity we have that set up with the vendor pool. If you're a vendor looking to provide a service, then I would direct you to that application. And then, however, for this this submittal, it's really the application process itself will allow us to determine organizations that are eligible and then the funding that would be allocated to those organizations.
Another question is, will this recording be sent to us for reference?
If need be, we can certainly do that.
Okay.
I saw a couple of AIs come in, so a couple of folks are already recording on their own. So, but we can certainly send it out to individuals as if needed.
Can you use the SAM number for Mecklenburg County?
So if I'm understanding that question, you're trying to say that you would want to submit under the federal identification number of the county. And I think we would try, that would certainly not be our preference. If there is not the opportunity, because the SAM number is something that can be gained prior to these funds being needed, as long as your organization has the 501c3, I think we could be able to address that. So that may not directly answer the question, but I think that at least provides a path forward.
We had another question about the vendor pool. Where is it? I pasted the link to that, and I will find also the website, the webpage on the city website. Another question is, if we have questions afterwards, can we reach out via email?
Yeah, let's see. Let me go back to sharing I'll go back to sharing. Are there any other questions? But I'll pull up what I'll do is I'll pull back up the PowerPoint presentation itself, and it'll show that information. So just really quick so if you're looking to submit further questions, we have utilizing the corridors of opportunity at charlottenc.gov. We are monitoring that email, and we will be sure to respond to folks as needed. And we are working to make sure that we're turning them around promptly. And then again, as we address questions both within this setting and in future settings, we will make sure to post them and update the FAQ to ensure that everyone is receiving the same information.
I don't see any other questions so far.
I don't see the email address.
Okay, I'll just reply to everybody.
Sorry, is it not sharing my screen?
Unfortunately not.
Okay, no, there you go. It should be, there? Oh, I know what I did. I see what I did. You should be able to see it now.
Okay, it's coming up. Thanks.
Perfect. Yeah. And then I think Arta also put it in the chat as well, along with some of the links we've discussed. Dang, I didn't get through the presentation without a technical mishap. I was so close. So close. Well, thank you everyone for joining our call. If there's not any additional questions at this time, we'll conclude this meeting. But again, feel free to utilize the email that Arta put in the chat to be able to engage us if you do, as you're filling out the application, if you come across any additional questions, and we can certainly make ourselves available to answer any additional questions. But again, the primary source of communication would be to direct folks to that email, and that will be the fastest way to get a hold of us. Arta, is there anything else that I may have missed that's pertinent to share? Or?
I think you covered everything, and I don't see any other questions, but feel free to come off mute if you want to ask any last questions before we end.
Excuse me, is there a typo in the email? It reads corridors OF opportunity. Oh, corridors of opportunity. I misread. I was thinking corridors for opportunity. My apologies.
No worries.
Excuse me, what is the website to with the application at?
That is, I will paste the link right now. It's called the Grant Interface.
Grant interface.
And
You gonna post it in the?
yeah, I'll paste the link in the group chat.
Thank you.
It should also be linked through the web page on our city website. You will need to create an account. And then once you create the account, you will be able to see the application listed on the website.
Thank you.
And the instructions for creating the account are right there, and they're relatively user friendly. But if you have any issues creating that account, feel free to reach out to us and we can assist you. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for spending this time with us. Hopefully we addressed any of the all of the questions that you had. But again, feel free to reach out to us if you have anything else. At this time, I'm going to end this meeting. But again, we thank you and we appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing your applications within the coming weeks. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.